All right. There we go. Okay, cool. Let's wait a few minutes for everybody to log on. I just want to make sure I'm live. All right. Geez, I almost dropped my phone. Right. Ha! Wait for more people to log on here. Hello. Hello, hello. I don't know if you guys have been like me. I'm avoiding social media right now. I'm just like, I'm just gonna do some research instead. So, and you'll notice I'm in a room, I'm in a conference room. So, yeah, because I'm living in a hotel right now. So until our house is done, we can't move yet. So I decided that I'm just gonna I'm like, can I use your conference room? They're like, yeah, they have way better Wi-Fi in the conference room. So I'm like, well, we'll hang out in the conference room. So besides, I need a break from my dogs. Like we have to take them everywhere we go 24/7 because they'll bark if we leave them here. So, ugh. So they're a pain in the ass. I mean, they are, but they're good, but you know what I mean? So, but yeah, I'm like, everything's all good. Like I said, I've just been avoiding social media a little bit because with Mercury retrograde in its shadow period right now, it won't matter what you say. You're going to be wrong. So I'm like, I'm not saying nothing. So, but this one is the metaphysical Q&A or the metaphysical anatomy Q&A. And so I like to do this Q&A at least once a month. So that way people can understand when it comes to, like I said, why the body goes into disease. So, and I will tell you that like in my world, nothing is random. Nothing is coincidence. Nothing's coincidence. And so I've recognized, and I think maybe it's just because of my ADHD, to be honest with you, but I see patterns very, very quickly. And I notice patterns now that I'm back to doing readings again. It's the same. It's like people are people. So you would think they would be harder to read. They're not. So it's just that people react and respond a certain way, usually based on childhood stuff. But people don't realize is that how you react and respond is also, again, going into the body as well. And so for me, nothing in this world is random. There's always a reason why people get sick, emotionally speaking. So basically, if you hold on to a negative emotion long enough, it will manifest in the body as disease. And so then we have to really look at the disease and go, okay, what am I holding on to that I need to let go of? So, and it's usually a negative emotion of some sort. And when I say subconscious, it doesn't mean that you're thinking about it 24/7. It's that you'll get triggered and you're still reacting to that old trigger because you haven't either forgave it or worked through whatever issue that was. So, and like I said, that's why I like to do these metaphysical anatomy ones, because I have a lot of people that'll bring in or they need help with like kids, what's wrong with my kid, or what's wrong with this, or, I've got this weird disease, and almost always I can trace it back to where, like I said, kind of where it started, or at least the core issue of it. So, let's see. Girlfriend's looking at starting a new job. So I would tell you, the only time you don't want to start a job is when Mercury goes retrograde, which is starting, I think it's like, I don't know, I got it written down. I know it's sometime around, I think it's like the week of Thanksgiving. I'm not kidding. And I'm like, shit, of course it would be. So I have it written down. Let me see here. Here we go. Hang on. It's in November, and it is 25th. So it's the week. Yeah, it's the week of Thanksgiving, that Monday. So, yep, November 25th is when Mercury goes retrograde. And we don't want to do, retrograde is just a time to redo. So redo the house, redo the goals, just kind of go inward a little bit. So that's usually Mercury retrograde for you. So we just don't do anything kind of crazy or try to do new things or buy expensive things. That's not the time to buy expensive stuff. So constipation are for people who literally don't let anything go. You still bring up how somebody did you dirty, like all the time, but you're forgetting all the good stuff they've done. So it's just you bring up how you were hurt or how somebody did you dirty, and you don't forgive it or you don't let it go. So like there's a difference in forgiveness and forgive and forget. You will never forget. People that have constipation never forget. They're like elephants, and they remember everything that was done wrong to them or how they were wronged. So let's see, language disorders in kiddos, anything natural to help? I'm sure there's stuff out there, Taryn, but a lot of kids, the new kids coming in, they struggle with language. A lot of them don't talk until they're almost 3 years old. And that's because a lot of kiddos try to communicate telepathically. And so those are the same kids that put their forehead to your forehead and try to talk to you third eye to third eye. So usually those are highly intuitive kids, and they don't keep the pace like other kids do. And that's because they learn differently. They're not used to Earth. They're new souls. And so it's like they're not really good with gravity either. So they have to figure all that stuff. So yeah. Let's see. Low back pain. So low back pain is always for people that don't have financial security, or they're doing a job that they have to do because of the money and the insurance, not that they actually enjoy the job or that it has anything to do with their life purpose. So almost always that's what that one is. Let's see. Yeah, if you guys now is the time between now and, like I said, not about the last week in November. If you need to shake things up, now's the time. So like I said, if you need to change a job, get out of a relationship, if you need to kind of rock the boat, now's a good time to do it. So, and like I said, just go for it. It's really funny because it's going to pan out great for you. Ringing in the ears is normal for people that are enlightened. The low pitch ringing on the right side are usually going to be your spirit guides. The high pitch ringing on the right side is usually going to be your angels, and the left side is usually loved ones. What does a narcissistic collapse look like? Well, like I said, narcissists don't collapse because they're in their head, they're always right. So that's why most narcissistic people live a long time, because they don't take accountability for anything. Weirdly enough, they do. They let everything roll off their back because they're all about them. So in a weird way, we're kind of supposed to be like that. I mean, obviously not narcissistic, but you are supposed to put yourself first. So how do you take pictures of spirits on your phone? I'm not a big orb person. So I've seen too many people that are insistent that it's an orb, and I can do the same picture and come up with the same orb. It's because it's a refraction off the camera lens, or you're taking a picture next to a fire and you're seeing ash. So I'm a very skeptical person. Like I said, I think that's what made me a pretty decent paranormal researcher, is just because I was very skeptical. So just because a door shut doesn't mean that it's not the wind doing it. I don't automatically assume it's a ghost. Like that's my last thing I'm going to go to usually. Enlarged liver. So anything with a liver. So if it's enlarged, usually that's telling me that your body, that and autoimmune issues kind of go hand in hand. Fatty livers and autoimmune issues go together pretty well. But if you're just having an enlarged liver or liver issues, that's anger. Anger lives in the liver. Or at least that's where it metastasizes, or that's where it goes. That's why it's not cirrhosis. The cirrhosis is because of the anger, not because of the alcohol. So, and that's why angry drunks usually end up getting cirrhosis. But drunks that are really happy all the time, they usually don't have any cirrhosis issues, because again, it's not the alcohol, it's the anger. And if you drink, some people, when they get angry, are finally releasing that anger, which is worse. So not releasing, they're just basically venting it. Yeah. Oh, I have diatomaceous earth on my Amazon list. How and why do you use it? Diatomaceous earth, especially the kind that I have on my Amazon account, is it's silica. So it's perfectly safe to eat. Every once in a while, for a good month or so, I'll put in like a teaspoon and I'll put it in my coffee. And what that does is that if you have any worms or parasites, it literally scrapes the outside of the worm so it dies and you pass it. So it's safe to use. I think they call it, it's something dust. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like I said, it's food grade, meaning that you can eat it. But what I also do with it is, because it's non-toxic, I put it all the way on the outside of my house. So any crickets or any, critters that have like a shell, if they go over it, they get scraped up and they die. So it's actually really good. I use it a lot. I use diatomaceous earth quite a bit, believe it or not. So, but you gotta remember, I'm an old gardener. So, but it's actually safe to eat. And usually they put it in cattle feed or horse feed a little bit. So it helps to dewormer. It's a natural dewormer. So, migraines. So migraines are usually for people who have perfectionism issues. So usually anxiety and migraines go hand in hand. So it's a perfectionism issue. You're in fear of what might happen and you feel like you need that control. So that's usually where that one's at too. So yeah, you're in the right time, Angela. You're good. How do I jump a timeline? Here's the deal. I'm not too worried about timelines. We're all getting forced into the 5D timeline anyway. So, I mean, all you have to do is just go to bed and just say what you want to see or what timeline you want to be in. And then when you wake up, you'll be in that timeline. So, let's see, vertigo. So dizzy or vertigo are for people who don't have a lot of balance in their life. Like it's all work and no play, or it's all play and no work. So there's no balance in your life, or you feel very imbalanced in your life. That's usually where vertigo comes from. Now, if it's not that, it could be solar flare stuff, because sometimes when these solar flares hit, they make us a little wonky. But usually vertigo and dizziness, 9 times out of 10 is usually from exactly that. Let's see. I will answer this one because there's a couple people asking. Hashimoto's. So Hashimoto's are for people who don't stand up for themselves. They don't speak their truth. They don't tell people no. And they have a very hard time being vulnerable. So Hashimoto's are for it's like, those are my girls that they get painted into a corner. And I am like, where'd your alpha go? Like, let's start speaking up on your behalf and tell people, no, I don't want to help you, because when I do, you never help me. So that's usually almost where it's at, is like putting up the boundaries. That's hard for a Hashimoto's to do. They're very naturally empathic, and they will help everybody else out. And when they need help, they're on their own island. And you have a hard time, especially Hashimoto's has a very difficult time asking for help. They do not like to ask for help. They do not like confrontation, and they have a very hard time feeling vulnerable. And what I would tell you is stay in that vulnerability. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but emotions are supposed to be felt. So the more you stay in that emotion where you don't feel like you have to run away or drown your sorrows or whatever it is, when you stay in that emotion, you're able to process it better. And so then the next time that opportunity comes by for you to speak your truth, you're more likely to speak that truth because you don't want that feeling again. I know that sounds very simplistic, but it's kind of true. So that's why I'm like, usually with my Hashimoto's, I have to tell my empaths to speak up and speak your truth. Say no, say, I need help. No, I don't want to do that. So you have to learn how to stick up for yourself in a weird way. So, but that's almost always, people with Hashimoto's and empaths go together like that. They're the same. So I hear Hashimoto's or thyroid issues, you're an empath. You're an empath. Soft fingernails. So that's telling me that's a nutritional issue. So you need nutrition, especially like vitamin B's, probably vitamin A. So you're eating crap food, and you have to remember, we have Franken food. We have gross fortified, and I say fortified because the minerals don't always get broken down in your body like a normal mineral would. So just understand that we have frankenfood, and almost everybody should be taking some sort of a vitamin supplement, because there is no way in hell that you're getting enough nutrition. You might be getting enough fat and sugar, but you're not getting enough nutrition. And that's why the fingernails would break off or tear off pretty quickly. So high cortisol, that is always, that's above the kidneys. So that would tell me, Amanda, that you have a very difficult time grounding, because cortisol is associated with the adrenal glands, which is associated with fight or flight. That means to tell me, Amanda, that you are constantly in fight or flight. That's what cholesterol is. It's like fight or flight. Do I stay? Do I go? So I'm like, I don't know what is causing that environment for you, but get the hell out of it. And if that's a relationship, fix it. And if it's not fixable, get out of it. So like I said, that's just telling me that you are under so much stress, a lot of stress. And the problem is that you're taking on other people's stressors too. And I'm like, fuck everybody else, take care of you right now. So, but high cholesterol is somebody who is always stressed out, always on the go, never resting, and you're absolutely depleted. So, but that's where I'm like going, you have a lot of stress in your life. And I'm like, do whatever it takes to get some stress off your plate. Hang on. Let me talk about this one here. If you're having trouble losing weight, it is because you still need the weight to protect your emotions. And number two, you still eat with guilt. When you're done eating, you feel guilty about eating what you ate, because in your brain, you're like, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that. So now I'm going to sit with a bunch of guilt. If you eat with a negative emotion, it's going to stick to your ass. You're going to sit down and eat a bag of chips because you earned it, because you earned that bag of chips, right? So it has to be, like I said, that's part of it. The other part of it is that you won't lose weight until you're taking care of you, like you're being able to put yourself first. You're pulling out that self-confidence. You're working on not feeling like I need an extra coat on because I don't feel comfortable. It really is a comfortability thing. And that's like where I would ask you is like, okay, why are you feeling so vulnerable? Why do you feel so uncomfortable? And I'm going to be willing to bet money you had a parent that abandoned your ass when you were a kid. And that abandonment, a lot of times causes people to keep their weight on a little bit more, because they don't, and depending on how you reacted to that abandonment. So, but I would be willing to bet money that right now you're probably working through that abandonment issue. And it's very, very common that if you're finally working through that issue, like with the counselor, you might actually gain more weight. But then as soon as you really start letting it go and forgiving it and seeing things from the big picture, then you're able to release the weight, and you'll just drop it. It'll just start dropping. Really common for people to lose weight at a stage 4. Okay. So if you're in a stage 3, it's okay. Don't sweat it. Like I said, it will start coming off usually at a stage 4. So, but it's almost always has to do with not necessarily the food you're eating either. It's the emotion that you're eating with is what I want you to pay attention to. So let's see here. Somebody's saying severe digestive issues. You have to watch what you're eating. So I have a lot of food allergies now. A lot. Never had that many before. So I'm allergic to milk, MSG, all those different things. So like I said, you have to be a lot more picky with what you're eating. Basically, if it's man-made bullshit food, you're not going to be able to digest it. You just won't. So like I said, the higher you vibrate, your body will not tolerate you eating low vibrational bullshit food. That's why when you go through an awakening, you have a little bit of alcohol and you're like it hits you wrong the next day so bad. That's why. It's because now that you're vibrating higher, your body will require you to eat better food. So, husband diagnosed with no sperm, already have 3 kids, trying for another one. We found out. What's the cause for this? That just tells me that you ain't supposed to have a number 4. I would call that a pretty clear sign, and I'd be all right with that. But if it did, I'm going to go to his father on this one. So, or does he feel inadequate as a father, or does he feel inadequate as a provider or protector? So that's where it's going to be right there, provision, protection. And if it's not the provision, protection, then I'm going to look at his father and how's the relationship between him and his father. Let's see. Let's talk about this one. And Debbie, maybe you can answer me on this one, but cancer polyps. So anything with polyps or anything in the colon is usually holding on to resentment or a little bit of bitterness when it comes to a sibling. You feel that that sibling gets treated better than you do, or your siblings get treated better than you do, or that they're looked upon better in the family because of whatever reasoning you think of, I guess. But 9 times out of 10, that's a sibling issue, sibling rivalry, or sibling stuff. Usually not necessarily resentment, but bitterness. Hang on. When spurs pinching off the blood supply to the brain, what would cause them? C1. Bone spurs. So, Sandy, I would be willing to bet money that you had a horrible childhood. Horrible. And you have a hard time with who you are on your own self, if that makes any sense. Because whenever something is in the bone or the brain like that, that is how you see yourself or how you hold yourself. And so that means to tell me that you, at that time, back in the day when you got this, 52 years, I'd be willing to bet during that time you were going through some big shit, or like a year before that you were going through some big shit. So because that's telling me that you felt down in the dumps, you did not feel supported, you felt very isolated, you felt very alone, you were traumatized, you like that. That's big stuff. So I'm just curious, like I said, during that time, not so much now, but when you were going through it then, I'd be willing to bet that you had, lots of issues. So, yeah. And then Debbie is responding about the colon thing. She was the problem child and got all the attention. And I'm going to tell you what, forgive her. Forgive her. Even though you were raised in the same household, does not mean that she is going to see things the same way as you. Now, did your parents probably end up, enabling her? You bet. But you wouldn't want her life anyway. So the biggest thing I could tell you is if you're having issues with that, like I said, you have to forgive her, but that doesn't mean that you have to be friends. That doesn't mean that you have to sit across from her at Christmas. You don't. So you have to protect you from her. And it's not necessarily keeping her out of your life, but a healthy boundary will at least keep her at an arm's length. And because the boundary is to protect you, it's not to keep anybody out of your life. So, but at the same time, I'm like, that's why we have colon issues right there. It is all because of your sister. And I'd be willing to bet that I'm curious if you actually have ever told your parents, like, I got jaded as a kid because she was the problem child and she got all the attention. So, and I'd be willing to bet, like I said, I'd probably bet that you haven't said anything because, again, this issue with your colon wouldn't be an issue if you probably said something. If you do say something, have no expectation on how you think they're going to react, because they're going to react how they're going to react. So you don't have to prove your point, but go ahead and speak your truth. This one here, pancreatitis is criticism. Either you're criticizing yourself or you're living with somebody that criticizes you. And I would tell you, if that's the case, I would have their boundary. Crippling anxiety, driving anxiety. So you know what, that's one of those where this would be great to have. And I think it's UNMC that came out with a kind of a partnership program for people with driving anxiety or for people that have like social anxiety. They have like a partner now that you can partner up with to help you work through that. So, and this might be from a previous accident. And if it's not from a previous accident, then it very well could be, it could be from a past life too. So it kind of depends. Marsha's asking if solar flares cause ears to ache. Bodies and heads too. Body aches, headaches, heart palpitations, ear ringing or itching. That's usually a solar flare. Yep. So, and then, so anything digestive usually is somebody, like I said, holding on to negative emotions. And it's almost like you're talking about those negative emotions all the time. But like gossiping all the time or talking about negative stuff all the time. So like I said, we just have to switch up the verbiage. But again, this IBS stuff, it may not be necessarily from emotion. It very well could be from the damn food. So, and like I said, there's a lot of food allergies now that, again, I can eat something and in 20 minutes, I'm in trouble. So I have, like, I can't do peppers of any kind, of any sort. I've never had a tomato allergy, but tomatoes and peppers are in the nightshade family. They're like sisters. And so now even tomatoes give me horrible heartburn. So like I said, we're going to continue to develop more food allergies as we get higher into the 5D stuff. So that's why I'm like, gross. Wait, where did I see that one? Hang on. Where did I see it? It was a good one. Oh, I can't find it. Let's see. Oh, this one, tight muscle. Hang on. Tight muscle in jaw left side. So if it's your left side, that means it tell me, Tedessa, that you really want to speak your truth to a female, but you're like, ain't freaking worth it. Not going to do it. But I will tell you what, if it's starting to hurt, that means it tell me that this person continues to do the same thing. And they probably don't know it's a mistake unless you speak up and say, hey, I don't appreciate that. And they're going like, oh crap, I didn't know. So that's, I'm like, you're literally biting your jaw because you don't want to say something because of confrontation. And I'm like, say it anyway. Say it anyway. Jocelyn, if it's saddlebags, depending on where you hold the weight, if it's upper here, that's daddy. If it's lower, it's usually your mother. So that tells me that you have mom issues or your mom just really wasn't there for you or yeah. Like I said, fatigue, pretty par for the course right now. We just had another couple solar flares. I don't know if you guys know, but I woke up on the 5th with the election. I woke up at 2 a.m. and it's almost just like Earth went, like, okay, now that we have an answer, we can move forward. It was almost like a big sigh. So it wasn't negative or positive. Like I said, it was a sigh. And boy, that was really like a shift. So that was strange because I've never come across anything like that. Because I was like, what in the hell? Because I thought it was a solar flare. I looked it up. It wasn't. I looked and saw it was a Schumann resonance spike. Looked, wasn't. I was like, what is this like shift that we had? Because it literally woke me up out of bed. And then I realized, I'm like, oh, it's collective conscious stuff. So let's see. So like I said, if you're having migraines, that is because you're a perfectionist. You've got to let go of control. You've got to let it go because you are not, the only thing you are ever in control of is what you do, what you say, how you think, how you react. That's it. That's all you're in control of is yourself. You are never in control of external factors. So, and boy, we're getting tested on that one, aren't we? So, but at the same time, like I said, it's kind of like you have to learn how to relinquish control. And that's what perfectionism or migraines are. It's like, I have to have everything right a certain way because it just bothers me. I'm like, but why does it bother you? Well, it just does. Now, that's not good enough. And almost always we can trace it back to a narcissistic childhood that your parents, one or two parents were narcissistic, or the fact that you, in your family, you decided to be the perfect one. So there's always one rebellious one smart one. There's going to be one caretaker, right? And then there's got to be, and if those are taken, then here comes the perfectionism role. So almost always that's where migraines come from. So if you have a bunch of people that die and born on the same day, November 19th for you, that just means to tell me they're part of a soul family. So meaning that these people have all incarnated at the same time, a couple lifetimes ago. So it's very common to see that in family ties. So soul families, they are literally tied with an etherical cord. So that's why almost always they're going to be born or die on the same day, because that's true family. I mean, that's like I said, that's a soul family. Restless leg. I have usually when I come across people with restless leg, if I ask you point blank, what are your goals, ambitions, and dreams? You don't have any. And the reason why you're getting restless leg is because you are getting pushed. If it's not medical, meaning that if it's not a result of medicine that you're taking, but you're getting pushed and you're like, wait, I got to think about this. Your guides are like, nope, let's go. And they start really pushing you. And you're like, but I just like my routine. I like where I'm at. And I'm like, and they're going to start pushing you. And so restless leg are for people who don't like to move forward without having all the plans put in place first. And I'm like, that's not real life. That's not how life works. So anything COVID is going to be a viral issue. And then it's going to boil down to nutrition. So we really have to look at, you're missing like alpha lipoic acid, or there's usually a couple things that are going to be missing with COVID, but still that's considered in my book, autoimmune. So, and autoimmune issues are not always easy to shake. So, but number one thing when it comes to anything COVID is, like I said, do your research, but almost always you're going to really help yourself out with nutrition stuff. So, oh, am I in a warehouse? No, I'm actually at the hotel we're staying at, but they have a conference room and the Wi-Fi is so much better. So I decided, I'm like, can I borrow your room for a couple minutes? And they're like, oh yeah, that's fine. I'm like, okay, cool. So, what causes cerebral palsy? That's one of my books that it really is how the baby was born. So there was too much force being born. So it's a forced birth almost. And usually people with cerebral palsy, I find them fascinating because they're always, if you've never noticed, because they were born that way, they're always 2 steps ahead of you. They already know what you're going to say before you say it. You're like, but they're not necessarily psychic. It really is a weird ability that they have, especially if they're able to, like I said, if they're vocal and stuff like that. But almost always they'll beat you to the punch. Like they're witty, really witty. Right, fracture the right wrist. So that means to tell me that you really need to let go of a husband or a father. You're holding on to husband, father, son. I can't let him go. Yeah, you can. No, I can't because of ABC. And you're going to be having some reason why you can't let this person go. So, but if it's the right, it's always male. So that's going to be, like I said, a dad, a son, a husband. You have a hard time letting that go. So I struggle with being curious. Example, son skipped school. Instead of asking questions, I'll ask my crap with him. He yelled at him for skipping. And first of all, raising teenagers. I think God makes them to be assholes, so you don't want them in your house. I get it, Mom. But for Paige, I had to learn how to ask questions first. Almost always there was a reason why she was doing what she was doing. And it didn't necessarily come down to me, but I wanted to know, like, I understood that you skipped school. You know that you're going to get in trouble for it. Why? Because I'm a why person. So I'm like, why would you do that? Well, I don't know. I'm like, no, I don't know is not an answer. I would like to know what was going through your head when you decided to do this, because there's going to be consequence to action. I already got that in place. I would like to know why. And almost always they'll they're like, well, it's because of this person was bullying me, or I got into an argument. I didn't want to be the spotlight type of stuff. There's always a reason, and usually it's legit. Sometimes not. Sometimes I'm just like, you're never going to make it in this world. Lord have mercy. I don't know if like Paige gave me every gray hair I earned. And I'm like, if she can survive, I'll be impressed. And you know what? She's 21 and doing awesome. So like I said, they grow through it, but that's why they have alcohol, Mom. Short of breath. I will tell you that I don't know if you guys felt it, but Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, for 4 days straight, I don't have anxiety. And I had to put on extra deodorant. And I am like, why am I like on pins and needles? I'm like, I was like a cat, like I was constantly like doing that. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me? And I could not settle. And I thought, you know what? I just need some outside time. Did some outside time? No, I was still nervousy. And like I said, I don't have anxiety, but I think as a collective, we all felt that way. It didn't matter. It was solely political, and all eyes were on us. And that includes like people overseas, they were watching. So I think that that has shifted a little bit. And I say a little bit because some people are really upset and really truly devastated and really hurt. And like I said, politics aside, that's still a human being, still a person, and they're hurt. And you may not understand why they're hurt, but it doesn't mean that you can't be kind and reach out and be like, hey, are you okay? So, like I said, I'm always one to help out other people, especially if they're struggling. And these guys are struggling right now, especially the 20-year-olds that might possibly be transgendered or gay. They're very, very scared. I know some Hispanics are scared right now too. And I'm like, and we kind of went through this back when he got elected last time. There was a big scare. And I'm like, it's going to be okay. We have each other. Like, it's going to be okay. I think there's just a lot of fear right now. There's a lot. You're either really cool or you're really scared. And I'm like, it's nice that you're cool, but reach out to your hand to the people that are scared. So, and just let them know that no matter what, like, it's all good. So, yeah, hold space for them. They need it. 9-year-old fevers, ear pain, sore throat, 2 weeks. Kelsey, number 1, no sugar. That kid's on sugar overload, and sugar feeds fevers, and sugar feeds infection. No more sugar. Fruit sugar is fine. Apples, fruit juice, cool. No pop, no sugar. Boy, just in time for Halloween, right? So that's where I'm like, no sugar. Number 2, make sure that the routine is key with a 9-year-old. So routine is very key, because if they go to bed the same time, they wake up the same time, they need that pattern in sleep. And then number 3, make sure there's no drama in the home, no yelling, no screaming, because all children are very simple. Children just want love. Children want love and attention when they seek attention, right? So right now you're going to see a massive amount of kids getting sick. And that's just because of the Halloween sugar overload. But that's where I'm like, no sugar right now. So like I said, make sure the sleep routine and your daily routine is on point. And then last one is make sure that the home, like I said, is calm, easy, breathable. Because a home should be a place where you go to relax, not walk on eggshells. If you have to go home and walk on eggshells, something's wrong, and that needs to be fixed and addressed. So, let's see here. Right hip pain to shoulder blade, painful headache on right side. So everything is on the right, Shannon. That's telling me everything about. I'm wondering if you're working through issues with your father or ex-husband or husband. So that has everything to do with a dude or a guy. and you're having a very difficult time making a decision. And I would tell you what, if you're having the right hip pain, which means to tell me that you can't decide to move forward, your shoulder blade hurts on the right because you are taking on the burden of being the breadwinner of the family. And if you're having the headache, it's because you're taking on way too much. So that means to tell me is that if you are a single woman, cool. That's going to be a dad issue. But if you're married, like if that's the case and you're doing that, then is he the girl? Because if you're doing the man role, protection and provision, then he should be doing the woman role at home. So even energy exchange. So I don't care who's going to lead, who's going to be the breadwinner, and then who wants to stay home. They're both jobs. They're the same job. So one just provides money, the other one doesn't, but you're raising kids. So, right. Yeah, left is always mom. Right is always dad. This is masculine energy, feminine energy. Always. Yeah. Wait, this one right here. That's where I'm like, I was just talking about the kid. Yeah. 4 kids, 3 dogs, birds. Calm only happens when he's sleeping. That's why he's sick all the time. Yep. That's why kiddos get sick. So, migraines not during menstrual. That's perfectionism. It's a perfectionism issue. So hang on, I can't. Body is in overdrive, major anxiety, getting diagnosed with one thing after another. What the heck is going on? Are you, that means to tell me that you're not living your life for you. You're living it for everybody else. You're burning your candle at both ends. You don't tell anybody no, and you still have yet to go through childhood trauma issues. And I say trauma issues because there was probably more than one if you're having a problem after another. So if I were to ask you what in your life is going happy for you or what are you grateful for, and you're going to tell me the same thing, family, God, and my kids and my animals. But if I were to tell you what's wrong, oh, well, blah, 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 blah. And so that means to tell me that you're focused on all the issues and not the solutions. Let's start looking at solutions. So being, like I said, focusing in on problems is one thing. I understand that. But if you don't have a solution to back it up, you are just going to spin in that shit. And you're going to keep spinning in it, keep spinning in it, and keep spinning it. So that's where I'm like going, time out with the spinning. Okay. What do we need to do to fix it? Because every problem is fixable. You just got to be brave enough. Every problem is fixable. You have to be brave enough and trust yourself that it's going to be fine. How does God plan with parents going to have kids with development disabilities? You chose that. So if you chose a kid with developmental disabilities, that means to tell me that you need to learn patience. You need how to slow down. It's going to teach you how to be a better mother. So, but that child chose you for a reason. And those kids are here for pure unconditional love. That's their job. Their one and only job is to spread unconditional love wherever they go. That is their job. So, and self-sacrificing coming into this world that way, rarely do I ever see them come back and re-enter back into Earth. Usually they get the gold star. They don't have to return again. They don't have to reincarnate. So I'm like, those are special kids, really special kids. So I talked about this one earlier. I'll say it really quick again. Colon cancer is because you're holding on to resentment with a sibling and you don't want to let it go. So muscular dystrophy is usually childhood trauma. So if it's a man that's got MD, their mother was very, very difficult. And if it's a daughter, their dad was very, very difficult. Or wasn't there for them, like wasn't a good parent at all. So MD is always a childhood trauma issue, like a bad one too. It wasn't just, oh, you were treated bad. No, they were treated poorly. So how to let go of resentment towards an ex-spouse that's still hurting you through your kids. Oh yeah. So if it does manifest in the body, that's where right breast cancer comes from, right there. Right there. Holding on to resentment with an ex-husband will give you right breast cancer. So, and I'll tell you what, here's the deal. Look at how he was raised. Look at how he was raised. I think he's trying to do the best that he can with what little he knows. And usually, if they're still hurting you through your kids, they're narcissistic. But here's the deal. Let your kids think what they're going to. When they get older, they will see the truth. And trust me, they will. And when they do, it's glorious. Fabulous. So just give it time. Like I said, your kids know that whatever dad's saying isn't true. They know that. So, and they're just going to go by just to not rock the boat with him. So, like I said, don't take it personal. So he wants to play a game and he knows how to bait you through guilt. Don't allow it. So that's how he controlled you before, was with guilt. By God, he's doing it again. Now he's doing it with your kids. So that's why I'm like, don't play the game. When you pick them up, what time are you picking up the kids? Okay, here's what you need to know about the children. Oh, are you dating anybody? Are they coming over around the kids? None of your business. And I'll be here at 6:00. Okay, good night. Bye. That's it. That's all you have to do. You do not need to talk about your personal life with this person. It is business only. That's it. The only time you need to speak to him is when you need clarification with the kids. That's it. Because he will manipulate everything else outside of that. Don't let manipulation happen. So. So if they have MD from birth, so Peggy, then I'm going to go, well, were you having trauma or dealing with severe trauma, or was the person that traumatized you, were you having to take care of this person when you were pregnant? Because now I have to go back to pregnancy. If they were born that way, let's go to pregnancy and figure out what was going on there. If you were literally dreaming of this, you probably need to do a parasitic cleanse. I'm not kidding. Not kidding. So either that or you need to ground. You're having a hard time grounding. So worms are always grounding. I know it sounds weird, but yeah. So let me tell you something about Indigo kids. If we come to your place, I say we. I'm an Indigo warrior, okay? If I go to my mom's house, it's because I need comfort. I don't need to say nothing. I probably won't even discuss with my mom what's going on. All I need to do is just show up. And if I show up, my mom knows something's wrong. So that's why I'm like, don't just understand that we don't check in a lot, but when we need something, guess who we're going to call? You. So that's why I'm like, if you don't hear from us, consider that good. We're good. We're happy. We're fine. We love you. We don't say that, by the way. We don't do feelings very much, but understand that if we need you, we'll let you know. The other thing is, I know that you might think that you're giving your Indigo advice. No, if my mom's like, well, you need to, or you should, I'll rebel against it just to prove a point. Okay. So she will too. So if you start the sentence with, I think, blah, 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 we'll listen to you. We'll hear you. But if you say you need to, we'll do the opposite. Well, we're going to rebel. That's what we do best. So just understand that if we're distant to the mom, because Indigos are here to rebel against authority. The woman in the household is, as a female, is the authority figure. We're going to rebel against the mom. So, but the minute mom tries to give advice, we're going to rebel hard, or we're going to tell you, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know me. You don't know my feelings, right? So that's where I'm like, don't take it personally, mom. Just understand that you are the first person we call when we're in trouble. So, and if we get in trouble, we'll own it. But if we get in trouble, we get in trouble. So we'll own it. But I'm like, I'm in jail for a while. I need some bail money. Like we get in trouble. So it happens. Tips on how to remember dreams. Easy. Ask. Okay, God, I'd really like to start remembering dreams. Now, here's the deal. There's 2 exceptions to the rule. If you are currently going through or working through childhood trauma, you might not have any dreams. If you smoke weed before you go to bed, you might not have any dreams. So there's usually 2 reasons. And yeah, that's where I'm like going, if we're working through stuff, you might need your subconscious just to rest. So there's nothing wrong with that. So, but I would tell you just like, all right, God, I'd really like to remember my dreams. You will. You will. But if, like I said, if you drink or smoke weed, it ain't going to happen. So, yeah, right. Literally. Oh, well, sorry, mom. Total indigo. I'm like, oh, yeah. Indigos are very difficult people to raise. We are. So we're like I said, we have a fiery temper. We do have usually issues with anger, especially stupidity. Yeah. Whereas kids, the next generation are the crystal kids, and the crystal kids are the ones that are wicked smart. So they're here to fix problems. They're problem solvers. They're a little Einstein minds. So, oh, fun. Crystal, if somebody is born a certain way, I never blame the child. I'm going to look at the mother. Let's see, what were their mother's emotions going through when he was born or when he was in the womb. So, and I'm willing to bet with that stuff, she was just horrifically stressed, super stressed, and probably not taking the vitamins and the nutrition stuff that she needs. So, let's see. Indigo here raising an indigo kid. I am so sorry. And like I said, Paige had to teach me how to talk to myself. So like I said, if I ask her to take out the trash, I'm like, hey, when you get a chance, please would you mind taking out the trash when you get a chance? It's usually how I started it. But if I started it with, hey, you need to take out the trash because it's your chore, she's like, why do I got to take it out? He didn't do his chore today. Nah. So she taught me how I needed to be spoken to. So that's where I'm like, start it with you can't go wrong. You start it with you need to, rebel. I'll get back to the kidney one. Inflammation, knee, nothing wrong with knee. Autoimmune, but they now have rashes on her face. You need to get her into immunologist, Brooke. That's a whole system, endocrine system issue. We need an immunologist and immunologist. Let me talk about the kidney stuff. So I forgot where that one went. So kidney stones. So left side kidney stones is because you are holding on to bitterness and anger. Left side. So that would be the way that your mom, I'd be willing to bet money your mom's narcissistic. So because your mom probably baits her children against each other. Well, oh, that's great that you won, an award, but your brother won the Nobel Prize. So until you get there, good job, but your brother did this. Do you see what I mean? So that has a lot to do with anger towards your mother. Could be a daughter if you had an older daughter, but almost always that's going to be issues with your mother. And if that's the case, I would have nothing to do with your mother. Nope. Because like I said, that's not a mom. Moms don't do that. Good mothers don't do that. One kid with asthma, one with ADHD. So ADHD, they're finding out, and I don't know if this is true or not, Wendy, maybe you could ask me, but ADHD is, rumor had it was our moms took Tylenol. My brother and I both have it. So I wonder if it's because when they were pregnant, it was the Tylenol. I'm curious, but it could be that. But asthma is for a kiddo who really, truly wants their mom's love or dad's love. They want love. So like I said, a kid is very simple. They just need two things, attention and love. That's it. Just love. Doesn't matter what conditions. If they feel loved by both parents, it'll be fine. Or at least by one, especially the opposite sex parent. Ooh, that's a good one. So Meredith, that just means to tell me that your clairvoyance is starting to pop on. So you probably are naturally clairaudient because you're listening to that at night. So that just means to tell me that now if you're starting to see the frequency or even the notes in your head, then that's telling me that your clairvoyance is now getting turned on as well. So that means to tell me your third eye is good. It's good. Let me see. Husband had terrible cough. Allergist said no issues. Doctor put him on steroids. Lymph nodes continued to swell, and this went on for months. I would find a couple more doctors. So that's why I'm like, if your lymph nodes are swelling up, it's fighting a bad infection. And if it's in the lungs, like I said, that bothers me. So the other thing is that I would check if he's got a cough, lymph nodes are swollen. You got black mold in your house? I would do a mold test, because if it's not anything autoimmune, which I'm not feeling, then it has to be environmental. So I'm not wondering if you got some black mold issues going on. And some people are naturally more sensitive. So one person might be sick, but the other one might just have brain fog or lower symptoms. So I'm like, or if it's not home, how about work? Where is he exposing himself for 6 hours a day with something that would cause his lymph nodes to work overtime to flush out the system? See what I mean? Let's see. What is your older son constantly clear his throat? It could be a tick, like Tourette's or a tick, which Tourette's or tics are kind of when your brain weirdly glitches after somebody says something to you that's not necessarily traumatic, but you're just like, what? So it's almost just like a shock of like, what? And it's not necessarily traumatic, but in a weird way it is. So if it's not a tick, like I said, then he's just trying to speak up or speak his truth, or learning how to speak up and speak his truth. Alzheimer's or dementia are for people, there's twofold. The emotional part is because they had a very hard life growing up. So they had to go out and, get the chicken eggs so they could have breakfast in the morning. Like, they had a hard life. The other kicker to that, it's, for me, Alzheimer's or dementia is a blood sugar issue. So it's usually type 3 diabetic. So, but they haven't quite figured that one out yet, but it's a sugar issue. Husband has tingling on the right side of his head. If it's not a blood clot or like something like that, then that tells me that his crown chakra or his third eye is opening up and kind of really opening and stabilizing. So one of the two. Oh, great. Let's see. Marcia, there's a lot of people right now, you're eating like a horse or you're not eating at all. So it's one or the other. And that is because of the way these solar flares have been. We have one more super full moon coming up, I think like 19th, and then Pluto changes signs too. So we have a lot of astrological energy shifts this week. So that's why you're going to hear me say, well, there's lots of changes coming. It's not political. I'm talking astrological. So, but people don't seem to understand that. And okay, that's fine. What causes brain fog? There's a lot. It could be the fact that you're not grounded. It could be a nutritional issue. It could be the fact that you were stressed out the day before. It could be the fact that you have low blood sugar. Like, there's a lot of different reasons. Usually that's, or you just need rest. Like I said, there's a lot of different reasons for brain fog. Yeah. Hang on, some of these are going fast. 5-year-old has severe expressive speech issues. Keep working through it. So, like I said, at 5 years old, we're still A-okay with, like I said, learning that language development. He might need to, this is so weird. I'm just curious if you have had an ear, nose, and throat specialist. I want to make sure that his ears are open and working. I want to make sure that his tongue is not tongue-tied. I want to make sure the roof of his mouth is the way that it should be. It almost it almost feels like something's catching. And so I'm like, it's a weird little catch. So maybe just double check, maybe an ear, nose, throat doctor, make sure the ears aren't clogged up or blocked, or that our jaw is able to open and close normally without pain, making sure that there's no tongue tie, making sure the roof of the mouth is okay, making sure the teeth are coming in properly. It almost feels like there's like something catching a little bit. So maybe check that out a little bit. Let's see, vertigo. So vertigo is 9 times out of 10. That is usually an issue where you're not balanced in your regular life. You're really not. And this is just me. I have found that if I do get a little bit of vertigo, I go straight to the chiropractic clinic and it's gone as soon as they adjust me. So that's just me though. And I know some people don't always feel comfortable with that, but almost always the emotion behind it is because you have no balance in your reality. So when I started getting bad vertigo and bad headaches, that's when I realized I needed to maybe slow up on my individual readings. So, but that's, like I said, a lot of that has to do with just having too much on your plate. There's not enough balance. If you shut down open spirits when you were young, can you start again? Oh yeah, that's what spiritual awakening will do for you. Oh yeah, it'll come back when your soul is ready, not when you're ready, not when you think you're ready. That's an egoic thing. So it'll turn on when it needs to, when your soul's ready. Yeah, if there's going to be, I'm going to tell you what, just over the next few days, you're going to see a lot of people have meltdowns. Young, middle-aged, old. This is all like we're just releasing all this pent up energy that we've had for a while. So since October. So there's a lot of releasing going on right now. And that's where if you got kiddos that are melting, it's because their nervous system is not regulated. Give them a hug. I know that sounds weird, but in the middle of them melting down, you don't have to talk to them. They need physical touch. Give them a hug because it'll reset the nervous system, especially your heart chakra to their heart chakra. Hold them right here and just like kind of squeeze with pressure. It'll calm the nervous system down. So, and like I said, it is a collective energy. Like I said, we all like finally, Tuesday it broke a little bit, but we're going to have a lot of this good day energy, yay, and then the next day melt. So, but a lot of this has been even from back in October. So if you haven't been releasing, it's going to kind of get built up here. So it's okay. Just understand that that's a frustration and they're trying to regulate their system. And I'm like, just give them a big hug. Just give them a big hug. You don't even have to say it's going to be okay. Just hug, heart chakra to heart chakra, hold, just hold. And be like, you are allowed to feel how you feel. But I love you. I got you. You're not alone. It's okay. So they just need extra comfort. So, and it'll be over. Of course, a 5-year-old's going to do it over little things. Severe OCD, that's a childhood trauma issue. I would tell you that if you're female, I would love to know what issues that your mother had, because you had to tiptoe around her issues. You weren't allowed to be a kid. You had to tiptoe around her issues and somewhat be the adult in the relationship. And after a while, then you learned that if you control the environment, then you can control that person. And that's where OCD usually comes from. It's because if things are in control and you know that they're right and set, then you can breathe. And that has a lot to do with you providing all of the most control that you could with an uncontrollable parent. So, and a parent that probably when you were looking at them going, why are you acting this way? What are you doing? It's not that hard. So, like I said, I talked about migraines. Migraines are perfection. If you have migraines and brain issues go together all the time. And OCD, same thing. So people that have OCD, people that have migraines, people that are perfectionists, people that have headaches all the time, it's a control. Your brain is the control center of your body. It is control. You have to relinquish control and be cool with change. Be okay with change. So, because you have to realize you're not in control of anything. You're not, just yourself. That's it. So that's where I'm like, you've got to relinquish control. Not everything is going to be the way that you want it to be. People will not respond and react the way that you want them to because they're individuals. So, but that has a lot to do with control. I'm going to tell you what, Danielle, you have to keep going to an immunologist. So now your body is fighting something hard. And again, let's look at your environment. Are you like in a household that has a bunch of mold? So like I said, if you've been checked out 8 ways from Sunday, let's maybe check out your environment. And again, is it a moldy house? Weirdly enough, I see more of that than you'd think. So really. But that, like I said, but if we're having that many issues, again, that's going to boil down to childhood trauma. That's telling me that you had a really shitty childhood too. Real shitty one. Let's see here. Lack of motivation. You don't have any goals. You don't know. It's easier for people to tell you what to do than for you to decide. I'm like, we need some goals. Because you're not gonna, because here's the deal. The problem with goals sometimes is people will use it as a chore list. And if you use it as a chore list, you won't have motivation to get anything done. You won't manifest anything. You won't. So that's why I'm like, a chore list is a chore list, whereas a goal list is a goal list. There's a big difference in that. So that's where I'm like, Teresa, what I would do is tell you, what are your goals? What are your short-term goals? What are your long-term goals? And if you don't know what they are, let's daydream about that a little bit. So literally daydream. So there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, definitely a shitty childhood. Yep. Let's see. On that note, if you've been trying to manifest something and it's not happening or coming, what's going on? It has to come in the right time. Remember, you don't get to control the time and you don't get to control the how. You don't know when, you don't know how, but you know it's coming. So this is where people are like, law of attraction doesn't work. I'm like, you can't manifest overnight. So it's got to depends on, are you ready to receive it? And if you do receive what you're asking for, how are you going to help people with that? Or again, when you do receive it, that's the time for you to get it. That was divine timing. So, but I'll tell you, sometimes this timing thing gets really weird because I was never expecting to build a home ever. And Eric and I were bullshitting one night. And he's like, yeah, I'd love to have a house with lake. I'm like, yeah, whatever. We're just talking. Next thing we know is that he bumps into somebody 3 weeks later. And this all took place. And he looks at me and I'm like, that was kind of a 3-year goal. And he goes, well, happened in 3 weeks. And I'm like, well, guess we're ready to take it. So it doesn't happen when you are expecting it to, because if you expect it to come a certain time, it's not. God does that just to see your patience. And then he laughs. So I am like, it will come when it's divinely given. So when you're ready to get it. He knows the schedule a little bit better than us. And then the second thing is, like I said, you're trying to control the how. You don't, if you want to earn money, you don't get to control the how. So for instance, these are people like, I'm going to win the lottery. I'm like, no, you won't. No, you won't, because you're telling God, this is how I want the money. God's like, no, I'm going to give you this amazing idea that's going to help 1 million people. And that's how you get that money. Right? So you don't get to control the how or the when. That's not up to you. That's hard. Jill, get that checked out. Underneath your armpit. What's this one say? Heart murmur, excessive swelling. Well, that's what heart murmurs do, is cause the swelling in the feet and the legs. So Annie, if that is fixable, let's try to get that fixed. But heart murmurs are usually, if you were born with it, more than likely you were. I would tell you that your mom had some sort of broken heart. She had a broken heart. So, or her heart was broken. Yeah, her heart was broken. So yeah, even though, like I said, even though it's honorable of your control, still control. It's still control. So, and like I said, let me ask you this: by you coming in and rescuing somebody, you're obscuring them from learning a lesson. Have you ever thought about that? If they don't ask to be rescued, then you're possibly obscuring someone's valuable lesson that needs to be learned. Because like I said, you learned a lot. You learned a lot. You learned how to be strong, how to be independent, how not to take shit from people. You learned. But I want them to learn too, and I don't want them to play victim. So, like I said, if this is where you're going to get the migraine kick from, and that was a lesson that one of my spirit guides told me a long time ago, and I never thought about it in that direction. They're like, every time you go in to try to rescue somebody off the tracks, you're the one that they're going to get mad at. And I'm like, exactly. And they're like, the reason why is because at a soul level, they know that that was going to be a valuable lesson for them to learn, and you pushed them off the tracks. I'm like, that's bull. But if you think about it from a big perspective, I get it. I get it. So how to block people's emotions? It's going to be hard right now. It's going to be a little tough right now. We got to let the dust settle a little bit. And the best thing I can do is tell you, ground, get outside. Get outside, get outside, get outside, get out in nature. No, like I said, try to, for this week alone, I'm really staying off social media. So there's too much hate and division and bitterness right now. And from both sides, I don't care which side. It's not pretty right now. I think we can all agree on that. So that's where I'm like, I'm out. Like, that's too much energy for me. Too much for me. And I don't want to feel overwhelmed. And I don't want to feel all those negative emotions. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be in my happy little bubble here in this hotel. Hey. So that's when I'm like, not that I'm an ostrich and I'm putting my head in the sand, but at the same time, I'm like, I'd rather do my own thing. Cool. So I'm happy with this. We're good. Let's see what else I got. Let's talk about cervical stuff. So cervical issues, endometriosis, uterine stuff, that has a lot to do with a dad that wasn't there for you. I see this a lot with girls who their dads are farmers or truck drivers. So dad was a good dad, but dad wasn't necessarily there a lot. And dad wasn't a very huggy, kissy type of dad. Dad was like, well, like if I asked them, has your dad ever said, I love you? They're like, no. So, and if the dad ever did say that, they'd be surprised. So that's usually cervix or endometriosis. Like your dad was there, but he wasn't a very loving, showing type of loving dad. Like they got protection and provision down pat, but boy, when it comes to a hug, they're all like, ooh, it's like almost awkward. So that's it's usually a dad. And then what stinks is that sometimes we marry somebody just like our father. And so that's then where the infertility then really gets going. Skin tags are for, what were skin tags? Hang on. That was it has to do with a hormone. I think it's just one of the hormones are a little bit. So I'm curious, do you stand on like girl power, women, or we're having issues with mom? Usually it's that. The neck and shoulder pain. So anything here is kids. So that's kids. That's you being worried about your children. So usually the left side is taking on your children's problems. And if this is the right side, that's protection provision. So if a girl's having both and nerves here and things like that, then that means to tell me that they're literally taking on everybody else's emotions in the household, or you're taking on everybody else's responsibilities in the household as well. So Anything with perimenopause? I'm finding a lot of times that, again, goes back to nutrition. It really does. I will tell you, I am 48 years old. I am still not in perimenopause. I didn't realize that that's odd at my age. I didn't know that. But I'm really good with taking my nutrition and my vitamins. So I'm actually really good at that. So, and I think my last time I spoke to my doctor, which was just not too long ago, she was just like, for your age, you're a little weird. And I'm like, I know. I'm like, am I supposed to be like perimenopausal or some shit? And she was like, do you have any heat flashes? Do you have this? Do you have that? And I'm like, no. She goes, when you get your period, do you have any mood swings? I'm like, no. And I still get mine every full moon. So yeah, like I said, I don't have that, but I think a lot of it honestly is nutrition. It really boils down to just a good multivitamin. So, because again, the food that we have, if you are not literally growing it and eating it, there's not a lot of nutrition to it. So that's why I'm like, everybody at this point should be taking some sort of supplement. So, because we have Franken food. It's not real food unless, like I said, I love the farmers markets in the summer, but here we're going in the winter. So this is where the canning kind of comes in. So was my mom like that? No, my mom and I look, I have one thing on my mother. I think I have her ears. That's it. So my mom and I look nothing alike. Like she's this high. I'm my dad. We don't have anything like nothing. I think I might have her feet. Oh yeah, I have my feet, her feet, my ears. That's about the only things that we share. So really that's it. The multivitamin that I use is on my Amazon shop. I like Mary Ruth's. That's one of my favorites. I also like Standard Process as well. But I like I said, Mary Ruth's. That's one of my faves. But the biggest thing is, like I said, perimenopause or menopause, your body changes a lot. And a lot of that is going to have to be almost boosted or supplemented with vitamins. But I take Mary Ruth's. That's the one I take, the liposomal one. Like I said, it's not bad. So yeah, if it doesn't agree with the tummy, you have to eat something first. So I've learned that. Like I said, sometimes I'll get a little bit of the sour stomach and I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't eat nothing. So, but with Mary Ruth's, if you're just going to take it straight and not mix it in something, then you got to eat it with just a little bit, and which you should eat a little bit with your multivitamin. I take my vitamin when I go to bed so that my body can process it better. I don't usually take it in the morning. I take it usually before I go to bed. So I don't know if that's right or wrong, but in my brain, I'm like, well, I want the vitamins to stay in my system as long as I can because I'm not going to get up to pee. So I'm like, that's my reasoning. So Tony Collette, do I know that person? Let me see. I'm not good with celebrity stuff. I don't watch a lot of TV. Let me see. I'm gonna look. So I usually get oh crap, there's a couple of people I usually get. I gotta look this one up though. I don't know people. Australian. Yeah, kind of. I can see that. Yeah, I can totally see that. Yep. I usually get told I look like, oh, freak, what's her name? She, oh my gosh. Her name starts with an A. I can see it in my head, but I can't. Oh, Alyssa Milano. That was more in high school. Gross. Husband was woken up by the doorbell and no one else was. Should you sage? You can if you want to, but here's the deal. That means to tell me that his clairaudience is really getting. So when I first started hearing, I would literally hear doorbells or door chime. I'm like, why is my door? But my dog wasn't reacting at the time. And I thought, what the hell is going on? And then I would ask the kids. I'm like, hey, are you guys hearing anything? They're like, no. I'm like, because it sounded like if it wasn't the doorbell, it was like church bells, but they were in the room almost. So that's telling me that his clairaudience or his ability to hear spirits really getting revved up here a little bit. So red yeast rice supplement for cholesterol. I've heard of that. Like I said, do a little bit more research, but I've heard of that. So best parasite cleanse. I have that on my Amazon. I think it's Paragard is one of the ones that I like. So is it okay to try and change your hair? Yes. Yeah. Do anything crazy with your hair now. After the 28th, no. So let's see. The other one was when I was a kid, my nickname was my nickname was Fatty because I'm really thin. So my nickname is Fatty. So they called me Fatty, or Punky Brewster at the time was out. Yeah, that tells you my age. But I got called Punky Brewster, Punky a lot. Punky Doo. So any other questions? Oh, it's 8:30. Okay. So tomorrow I am going to have the conspiracy theory discussion. So it is on my website under my events tab. So it's Psychic Kelly, and it's underneath the events tab. If you're interested, it's going to start at 6. It will end at 10. I'll probably have it here in the conference room. It's not being used. If not, I'll have it in the hotel room. But yeah, it's going to be from 6 to 10. It will be via Zoom. So the links will all get sent out. Does it automatically, but I always send it out one more time just in case. But we will discuss some things. But the last one was pretty good. But like I said, it's one of those where it's Zoom. You guys can see me, but I can't see you. So don't feel like you got to get dressed up or anything. I might just grab a cocktail, meet me tomorrow on Zoom. So, but we're going to talk about the things that I can't talk about here online because I'll get in trouble. So they'll shut my account down and everything else. They've already threatened me a couple of times. So I'm like, I have to be nice and be careful. So yeah, you can log on late if you want to, but I'm just letting you know it won't be recorded. So I don't want to record that. So that's when I'm like, I won't record that one, but yeah, just head to my website. So it's going to be Psychic Kelly here. Let me type it out. PSYCHIC, psychickelly.com. So, yep. Oh, look at that. It put the little, oh, that's cute. So, but yeah, if you head there to my website, it's underneath the events tab. So, yep, it's in my website. So psychickelly.com, just head there. And you'll see it's also called Deep Dive Discussions. So it's conspiracy theory stuff, but I call it the Deep Dive Discussion just so it doesn't flag on Facebook. Fun. So, all right, guys, I just want to thank everybody for watching. I think, let me see what I got going on next week. I don't know what I have going on next. I didn't even look yet. I have a Q&A on TikTok on Tuesday. And then I have a Q&A on Facebook on Thursday. So, yep, Tuesday, Thursday, I'll be live again. So, but like I said, the one on Tuesday is the one on TikTok. I will not private message you. So if you get a private message from me stating, oh, my beloved, I have I have a little something for you, send me a little money. I'm like, I will never do that. So please report that profile if they reach out to you with a message saying something stupid. So, because that ain't me, especially on TikTok, be careful. So mine's always Psychic Kelly. It's PSYCHIC. That is going to be my screen name. It's never going to have extra punctuations or exclamation points or numbers, or it's going to be spelled correctly. So you have to really watch because sometimes they'll put like 3 L's in Kelly, and and TikTok doesn't take them down. So that's where I'm like I said, I'll be on TikTok, but I'm not going to reach out to you with a message. So don't think that that's the case. So if anything, just like I said, report them, but I've reported them and they don't take them down. So Facebook is getting better at it. Instagram's getting better at it. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of just people trying to scam other people. So, but like I said, tomorrow night I will be 6 to 10. Like I said, grab a cocktail, meet you there. So, all right, guys, have a good week ahead. Like I said, dust is going to settle down just a little bit. Try to get outside, put the phone down, shut the computer off, read a book. So we all just need to and it's hard, like I said, but at the same time, if you're party one, help the people that lost. They're struggling right now. So, and especially, like I said, I'm more worried right now about the transgender kids and those kids because I've gotten about 3 emails today stating that they're at the hospital because they tried to do something to ease pain. So that's what I'm like. So if you know of any of those kiddos, just reach out and make sure they're okay, because they're not okay. So, and they're not going to be really vocal. They're just going to hurt. So, all right, guys, have a wonderful week ahead. I will see you tomorrow. Have a good weekend. Bye.